All right, what is up tonight? We are back with another episode of NFC Beast. This episode, or sorry, week 3 review, week 4 preview. So I'm joined by Big Time. Big Time, how you doing tonight?
Oh my goodness, we gotta y'all have to forgive me. I got a lot of stuff going on over here. I'm doing fine. Give my Sam, just go ahead real quick, take over real quick. I'm coming back.
Okay, sounds good. Big Time will be right back, and I'll go ahead and lead us off. But we're going to go ahead and look back at the week 3 games from obviously this past weekend, there were some shockers here. Let's start off with that Dallas Cowboys Arizona Cardinals game. I mean, 28-16. You look at the Eagles 25-11, and most shockingly was the Buffalo Bills losing 37-3. So we'll go ahead the Washington Commanders losing to the Buffalo Bills 37-3. In this game, I think Sam Howell finally kind of came back down to earth, which I was surprised to see personally. I've been a big fan of what he's been able to do so far this year, but he threw 4 interceptions, no touchdowns. Really, just the Bills were able to get in his face, threw him off his game, and it was one of those situations where he just looked like he was an inexperienced young quarterback, like he is. They didn't get much help from the run game with Robinson only running for about 70 yards, and then on the flip side of things, they let the Bills running game run all over them. Josh Allen had 46 yards, 98 yards from James Cook. Latavius Murray got involved, and Damian Harris as well. So just one of those crazy games that kind of got out of hand. And we got a couple other people to join us now. How's it going, Martin?
What's up, Sam? Slim Shady. What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm chilling, man. I got caught up in that South Carolina game, watching it, trying to root for not for my team, but just trying to root for South Carolina.
Hey, that's perfectly understandable. Well, I was actually just talking about the Washington Commanders and Buffalo's Bills game, so I know you've got some thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I got some thoughts on it. You want me to go ahead and dive in? What's up, Big Time?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. Well, I was hoping that Washington made that game competitive. I mean, Buffalo was kind of up and down for the first 2 games of the season. So I figure, Washington, even though they came back in both games against Arizona and Denver, the Denver game was more impressive to me because they was down 18. They was able to come back in the game and put up some points on Denver. I didn't expect for them to not kind of like underperform in the Buffalo game. Um, the offensive line still is an issue. It's been an issue since last year, even though we could have made the playoffs. But just looking at it is that you got a young quarterback in Sam. Even Sam has not helped himself a little bit because he was holding on to the ball. He can make the throws. He's very athletic. I just want to see him more move out the pocket a little bit, where he don't have to sit back there as a sitting duck. And that's what it was because the Bills was playing. They was blitzing. They blitzed so much in that game. I mean, giving up 9 sacks. They almost had 10 sacks in that game. That remind me of when Carson Wentz was back when Philly blitzed us for like 7 sacks in that game last year. But hopefully we learn from that. The game was 16 zips still going into the fourth quarter. Washington did move the ball. They just didn't. They execute so poorly. They didn't. The receivers didn't help out Sam Howell done. The running game was the X factor in that game because Brian Robinson had 10 carries for 70 yards. You could have really ball control Buffalo with the running game and set up some quick passes here and there to get a little bit. Sam did use his legs a little bit here and there, but there was too much miscues. The sacks, the turnovers. I mean, 4 interceptions, 1 fumble. You can't do that against a great team like Buffalo because the fact of the matter is Buffalo, yeah, they might not put the points up right then and there, but after a while, if your team is not really scoring, and your defense keep coming out there, they're gonna fall apart. They're not gonna be able to, and that's what happened in the fourth quarter. They couldn't do it no more, and Buffalo just started adding points on the board. The game was pretty tight until that fourth quarter, but I don't. That game was just so bizarre to me. I wanted better production in that game, a better showing. Even if we did lost that game, at least you would have had a better showing. But I don't know, man. It just, I don't try not to point the finger too much on the team, but I have to be critical because when it comes to that team, it seems like fans of the team just don't know how to be critical of the team. I want the team to be successful, but I have to be critical of some points. I blame Eric Bieniemy, I blame Sam Howell, and I blame Ron Rivera. And Ron Rivera, he makes all the decisions. You should fix the offensive line.
100%. I mean, definitely showed up pretty poorly in this game. I mean, I can't believe that 8-9 sacks. I mean, just an unbelievable performance by Buffalo's defense, and unfortunately taking advantage of some of the holes in that offensive line, like you spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely very interesting to see how this has all played out for Washington so far. Big Time, do you have any thoughts?
My thought is, first of all, what's up, everybody?
What's going on, Big Time?
We got a echo going on. Do y'all hear that, or is it just me?
Could be me. Hold on.
I'm almost a whole second behind. I tell you what. Let me take this off.
You're muted.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now, clear?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, cannot hear Big Time, though. Going well so far.
Yeah. You probably muted.
Can't hear anything you
I
say.
know. I can't hear him either.
Sounds like we're having some audio issues. Give us just a second. We'll see if we can get that figured out. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and get back to the games. So looking back at that Washington-Buffalo game, the Terrell Bernard was named AFC Defensive Player of the Week due to his performance, 5 tackles, 2 sacks, and an interception. He was a big part of the reason why this defense just kind of took over the game.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard Floyd, 2 sacks as well. Ed Oliver, 1.5. Daquan Jones, 1.5. Just pretty impressive to see the performance all the way around as far as defense goes. Again, just a poor outing by Washington. I think this doesn't really show the talent level that they really have there. I think they're much better than their performance in this game, and I think that they'll definitely bounce back this upcoming week, but we'll get to that here shortly. Let's see if we can get Big Time back on here. All right,
that should be good now.
Yep.
All right.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to that Dallas game against Arizona. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off with your thoughts on this game?
I'm still recuperating. That's what I'm doing. Last week when I was here and all on my show, I said that the Arizona Cardinals don't belong on the same stage as us because I didn't see no way that they should win that game, period. And we made them, bottom line, without taking too much time, we made them look like the world champions. The bottom line. We got whipped in every phase of the game, offense, special teams, and what obviously was shocking to me was that our defense was nowhere to be found. There's nowhere in the world that they should have allowed Josh Dobbs and James Conner to dominate. So we got whipped. That was just the bottom line. There's no other way around it. Highly embarrassing. 220 yards on the ground. And with all this talk about how, quote unquote, historic type defense, supposedly, they went, 2 steps up with the domination of the Giants and the Jets, and then took 5 steps back. And so I'm still irritated by a team that we just supposed to beat, and we did not handle our business at all. I understand that we had a few injuries and 3 offensive linemen, but we ran for 148 yards, I believe, on the ground. So we was moving. It wasn't even no question about that. The ball was moving. We shouldn't have allowed this team to do that, but we did, and we were the laughing stock of the NFL for a whole week. I hope they ticked off, and we'll see what we do tomorrow against them. But overall, just a horrible for a team that's supposed to have these great expectations. You laid an egg, and that's just the bottom. There's no other way around it, and I just don't, and I know how teams get when they play the Cowboys. Everybody play their best game, but even on their best game, that shouldn't have happened. 220 yards given up on the ground. You can't be a historic defense. You can't even be a mediocre defense if you give up that type of stuff. I've always said, and I'll close with this, that my only question about my defense was, can we stop the run? That was my only question. But the scoreboard from the Giants and the Jets kind of took away the running game. I always wondered. I said, okay, what happens when the team gets to play their game plan and the defense step up? And obviously, everybody have intentions on running the ball, but when you're down by 20, it kind of mess you up. Well, now I see what's going on. So we look horrible. We got ran over, and it was embarrassing.
I could definitely see that as a Cowboys fan. I would definitely say you weren't necessarily the laughingstock of the NFL. I think the Broncos kind of took that title this week for that 70-20 beatdown that they took from Miami. But we're gonna go ahead and introduce on our Giants correspondent for the night, and that's Krish. Krish, what are your thoughts on this Cowboys Cardinals game?
Yeah, the Cardinals came out. They came out firing. The NFL is all about game plan. What game plan you have against a certain defense, and their game plan was just to run the ball, and it worked. Joshua Dobbs. I'm a huge Joshua Dobbs fan. I've been a fan of him since he was at Tennessee, and I think he's so elite in what he does in his system. The system is catered towards him.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Pettering, he's their offensive coordinator in Arizona. He was the quarterback coach for the Cleveland Browns. So he has familiarity with Josh Dobbs. That's part of the reason why he got traded there. But I think he's done a great job catering to Josh Dobbs' skill set, and the Cowboys weren't ready for that. I think they had a totally different game plan, and I was kind of expecting the Cardinals to beat the Cowboys, to be honest.
Really interesting. Definitely would not have pegged that myself. So good on you if you did think that, because I honestly thought the Cowboys were going to roll right over them. And I really think that they just caught them on an off day. I don't think the Cowboys came into this game rolling the way they normally would. We've seen them decimate 2 opponents prior to this. So I personally think this was just one of those early season games that they had to get out of their system.
I kind of agree with Chris a little bit, because if you look at the first 3 games from Arizona, they have played everybody tough. I mean, they literally could have been 3-0 right now. They could have beat us. They had us. We came back to beat them, and then they jumped all over the Giants. So I think as each game went on, they probably was adjusting more to Josh Dobbs' skill set to get him more in rhythm and everything like that. And I mean, Arizona defense is not really that bad. So it's kind of like, you know, I didn't expect the game plan that Arizona came with worked. I didn't expect them to like really just go off on them like the way they did, like running the ball, and then Josh Dobbs using his legs. I mean, there's something that he's good at. I mean, he was with the Commanders at one point in time, so he got a lot of familiarity to the NFC. So going from teams being with us and whatever. So yeah, so it's kind of it's not too surprising.
That's definitely fair. Big time. Any final thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, we're horrible.
I definitely wouldn't go that far. I'm not a Cowboys fan by any stretch, as you can tell behind me. But at that same time, I know what kind of team Dallas is, and I'm not counting them out anytime soon.
I'm not counting them out. It's just that we know the landscape. When you have the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers who, especially the 49ers who look like they're already in mid-season form, and you're suspected supposedly to be a possible NFC championship game. That's what everybody was saying at first and all that kind of stuff. Then common sense kind of tell you you're going to have to keep pace with them because they're not losing. And it may be a minute before either one of them lose, even though we have them on schedule following the Patriot game tomorrow. And then, of course, we have Philadelphia twice ourselves. But games like that, they're not losing games like that. We did. The 49ers are not losing a game like that. You tell the style of play. They don't lay eggs. Not like that. Philadelphia, even though they're not, they're kind of struggling, I guess if you want to say that, but they're struggling and winning. And they may struggle, but the good teams show up. They just don't lose games like that. And when you're talking about, everybody want to go to the playoffs, well, you got to win the games to get to the playoffs. And if you're talking about, last year should have taught us that, we won 12 games, but Philly won 14, 15 games. And 12 games usually win your division. And 12 games usually have you in the hunt for home field advantage. But 12 wins gave us straight a ticket to Tampa Bay in a wild card game with a team that won their division with 7 wins. So you don't have time to lay eggs. You just can't lay that egg. You just can't. And we did, and we'll see now.
I mean, that's a good point as well. I mean, you definitely have two teams that are kind of cruising at the top of this conference, and we'll get into that Eagles game right now. The Eagles win their third game 25-11 against Tampa Bay. I actually expected this game to be a little bit closer to believe it or not. I mean, I talked about it all week long. I think that Buccaneers defense has exactly what they needed to contain Jalen Hurts, and it kind of showed at certain times. I mean, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions by Hurts wasn't a pretty performance by any stretch. Like you said, we've kind of struggled as of late to kind of get our footing. It seems like every week we're letting these teams hang around that we should just be pulling away from, and it seems like we need to figure out that last little bit of our offense for whatever it may be. But DeAndre Swift, 16 carries, 130 yards, another 100-yard game after not doing anything in week 1. Still averaging over 100 rushing yards a game so far this season. Pretty impressive to see how he's bounced back so quick. Anybody else have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I do. I know that like y'all play New England the first game of the season, which kind of New England kind of like let y'all off the hook. I watched the Tampa Bay game. I think if Tampa Bay could have run the ball a little bit more, and somebody else in the wide receiver has stepped up more besides Mike Evans, And Baker's not really a scrambler. He's more of a semi-pocket passer, you could say. But the offensive line was kind of like a little bit Achilles heel for Tampa. I think Tampa did everything with the defensively to keep the game close and created some turnovers to put them in position to add points. I think if they could have mustered up enough offense, they probably could have, sneak a game from Philly. But this kind of reminds me of Philly from last year too, because they won these games, and you should start to see like when they went on that 8-game win streak, you kind of see like teams like Houston, Indianapolis, kind of like had them on the ropes, and then they kind of escaped until they ran into Washington, and then Washington had the formula to beat them on a Monday night. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of the same thing, even though Philly's 3-0, Washington's 2-1. So, and it's early in the season. That's kind of it kind of reminds me, because Philly's like, okay, even though they don't have the, Shane Steichen went to Indianapolis, you know what I'm saying? But I think as the season going, Philly probably will finally figure it out, you know what I'm saying? But I think a loss is going to come sooner than later. I don't think they're just going to roll to 8-game winning streak to like they was last year. I think a loss is going to come sooner.
I would actually agree. I personally think unless they clear up whatever it is that's kind of holding them back, they're definitely going to end up seeing a loss, probably even possibly this weekend, to be quite honest. Chris, your big time, any thoughts on this game?
So, what's kind of crazy to me, I was looking at Jalen Hurts' stats earlier. He has thrown 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, but yet he still has an 84 quarterback rating. That's probably the craziest stat line I've seen in a while. But I mean, they find a way to win games. That's really all that matters at the end of the day. And I can't see them stopping anytime soon. I personally think they're going to destroy the Commanders this weekend. I think it's going to be an on game. If Jalen hasn't figured it out now, he's one of those guys. He'll figure it out. So I have no fear in that. And then DeAndre Swift, like you said, like he's turning into one of, in my opinion, a top 5 running back in the league overnight. So
yeah, I mean, I would definitely agree on Swift. Your take on Swift, if he continues this pace, he's definitely a top 5 running back. Big time, any thoughts on this game?
Well, I mean, Jalen, doesn't have to really do anything, because at least the Eagles know their identity.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really depending on Jalen to be quote unquote the man. He's a supporting, type of guy. He's not the focus. Running the ball and play defense, and that's so far, at least as of these few games that we played, that's what the Eagles do well. And you can win, obviously, like that. So they may be somewhat, not clicking on all cylinders, but when they need to go to their go-to offense, they know what to do. Let the offensive line take control and hand the ball off to Swift as of now, and they're winning. So that's the bottom line. Everything don't have to be pretty, just as long as you get the W at the end of the night. And and just like I said about the Cowboys keeping pace, well, the Eagles know that the 49ers are winning too, and the 49ers are aware that the Eagles are winning.
Yeah,
and I'm quite sure both of them want home field. If it get down to that point. But I'm just saying, as of now, everybody knows who the bosses of the NFC is right now, and everybody's trying to keep pace. So as long as you win, that's 1 point or 40 points. You need to stack as many wins as you can now. So when the time does come, you got something, a foundation to lay on. So I don't really have a complaint. Isn't it? The Eagles, when the people like Purdy, people like Jalen, because the defenses are so good and the running game is so good, there are only going to be a few games where they have to play, be the man. Just a few. Because the defense and the running game is so good. We ain't got there yet. Purdy really hadn't gotten there yet. Really, maybe 1 or 2 games we had to be the guy. Like the ball is handed to you, carry us home. That's not Jalen's game. That's not Purdy's game. There's really not Dak's game, but I know. But everybody think he's trying to make it be like that. But that's really, they almost have the same game. The game manager, guys that have moments of eliteness, if that makes sense. And so far, Jalen has only had to do that only a few times. He had a great year last year, obviously, but he's doing fine as far as I'm concerned. So y'all good.
Sorry, go ahead.
For the big time, this is the first time I'm interacting with you because I know you're a big Cowboys fan, but I do appreciate your honesty when it comes to the Cowboys. A lot of people just don't critique their team, the way it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? Because just thinking that he just broke down all of the quarterbacks, Dak, Jalen, and Brock Purdy. They managed the game. A lot of everybody else in the AFC, we're going to take Kansas City out of the equation, you know what I'm saying? Because that's a whole different beast by itself. But you have to have great defense around these quarterbacks that you can't throw the ball in their hand and say throw for 400 yards to win games. It just don't work for them.
It's not their game.
It's not their game because you see when you throw it in Dak's hand, it might work for a minute, but you best be sure a turnover's coming. Yeah. Jalen had to throw the ball a lot this year. Even though he got one of the 2 good receivers on the team, but he ain't had to throw it. They were using the run game. Same thing with San Francisco. They know Purdy got hurt, so they working him back. So what are they doing? Giving the ball to his playmakers. McCaffrey is taking a lot of pressure off of him where he don't have to do much. So, and then you got the great defense to support them. So that is really the recipe for them. But can that take them to win the Super Bowl against a team like Kansas City? If the Kansas City was to come back, who knows? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. And can I add to that? Because this is
go for
it. Just to add on to that, when you have a AJ Brown, for instance, and a Devontae Smith, but particularly AJ Brown, because of his size and the way he's built, and he's just a gigantic receiver. Well, really, all you got to do with a guy like him is throw him a 5-yard pitch, and he gonna roll for 40 yards because he's gonna break a tackle. But when you look at the stats, it says Jalen got 285 yards. Yeah, but he threw a 5-yard slant. I mean. And Brown and well, I ain't gonna say Devontae, and then the same thing goes with Purdy and Debo. And ain't Purdy throwing it way down the field; he's throwing it short. Yeah. And Debo is doing a whole lot with all that. So, you know what I'm saying? But the problem is when the teams have mistaken identity. If Eagles don't have mistaken identity, they know what the strength is. The offensive line, the running game. This is what it was like last year. Jalen even getting involved in the running game. The 49ers know what their strength is. The offensive line, Christian McCaffrey, Mitchell, and then that strong defense. And that's what they do. The Cowboys' problem is that we got mistaken identity. We're trying to make Dak Prescott an MVP candidate when that's not his game. His game should be he's above whatever a game manager is and good, being real good. Whatever that word is there, that's what Dak is. The 49ers and Eagles have figured that out, and they're staying true to it while we're trying to get Dak some kind of credential that can go along with this NFL Man of the Year award. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what the problem is. Until we figure out, it's just like tomorrow. I don't know who we want to be. quite yet. They ain't figured that out. You
Yeah.
ran over the Cardinals, even though we lost, but you didn't keep running. You know what I'm saying? You had 4 running backs. You could have kept running. We were dominating them, moving them all over the place. Instead, you want to try to pad Dak's stats up. I mean, throw a little, it's 1st and goal on the 2-yard line. We lined up in the shotgun. Why? I just don't. For the Eagles, on the other hand, they run a heavy set, the 49ers. Heavy set, and they ain't worried about Purdy getting 3-4 touchdowns. The Eagles ain't worried about Jalen throwing for 3-4 touchdowns. They're going to hand the ball off. You know what I'm saying? I even throw the Giants in, Chris. 1st and goal from the 2-yard line, it's going to Saquon. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know that. With the Cowboys, we got to get Lamb a touchdown. We got to get the tight ends involved. Until they get the mistaken identity out of here, that's when the Cowboys will take off. But as of now, I don't know what team gonna show up.
Definitely fair on all fronts. I mean, let's go ahead and get into this next week's games. We got another interdivisional game, and that's actually my Eagles versus Martin's Commanders. So, Martin, what's your takes on this game? I mean, Sam Howell's going to be trying to bounce back from a 4-interception game. Can he do it against Philly?
I think so, because I think Philly knows that Washington could beat them. I think they know that from last year, being undefeated. We didn't even have the team that we have this year. I think the Commanders have a good team. They have a team that can put points up. They just got to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And 2 big times, he just gave me something to think about. I think they need to, Airbnb needs to scale back off that explosive offense, manage the game with Sam Howell, take what the defense give him, use the run. The Commanders' run offense is way better than their passing offense. I understand we got great talent on the offensive side of the ball, but you have to figure out how to slow. When you play like we played the 49ers and the Philly last year, we could, the 49ers game, if we didn't turn the ball over, that game was a turnover prone. We could have figured that game out, probably stole that game for the 49ers. When you play in the Philadelphia Eagles and the 49ers, you're going to have to play mistake-free football. Knowing that we know about Philly, how we played them last year, probably have to be the same recipe. Now, I think Philly is going to run more on with us because DeAndre Swift is the difference maker right now for that offense. And I think Washington has been playing really good against the run, but I think they're gonna have to slow that game down for Sam Howell, not allowing him to take so much beating. We can't give up 9 sacks this week against a good Philly front. I mean, as good as our front is, we getting sacks, but we getting pressures, but we not finishing the plays when we get back there. Jalen Hurts can't hurt us running. We haven't been good against a running quarterback. We seen what Josh Allen did to us last week. We don't want the same thing with Philadelphia. So I think this game is going to be a little bit more tighter. I think there's going to be different things that Washington is going to do to throw Philly off. They probably going to look at some of the games that Philly, probably look at the Tampa Bay game, see what Tampa did, and probably put it in there in the game plan. I think that I gave my prediction of the score. I picked Washington by 3, 27-24. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Even though Washington gave up a lot of points in the 4th quarter against Buffalo, the game was much closer than what it was. So, and I kind of, honestly, I think these two teams similar to each other. I think Jalen Hurts is the more experienced quarterback, but these teams a little bit similar. Defensively, y'all have a better linebacker core than we do. But everything else, I think, is pretty similar a little bit. Offensive line a little bit better in areas, but they kind of mirror each other. So I think Philly right now is the big brother. We kind of like the third brother. I think I put Dallas ahead of us because we behind them. You know what I'm saying? Then the Giants, down there. But I think the Commanders can win this game. I think they're just going to have to play mistake-free football and not allow Philly to get into that rhythm. Once they start getting into that rhythm, who knows? Then, it's lights out.
I've got a question for you real quick before I give my thoughts.
Okay.
Why is Antonio Gibson not more involved in that offense right now?
Sam, to be honest with you, I don't even want him to be more involved. He can't even hold on to the ball. And he's such a good talent. You know what I'm saying? I think him being in that wide receiver spot to use like an Alvin Kamara or Christian McCaffrey type guy, he could be that guy. His fumbling scares me. That's what scares me about him. He could get you yardage. He could get in the open field, but him not securing the ball worries me to death because say for instance, it could be 24-24. We might have the momentum to win the game against y'all. And he fumbles the ball. That right there would drive me crazy. You know what I'm saying? It would drive me literally crazy. I don't know why Eric Bieniemy. And I think his fumbling has probably cost him a little bit where they're not trusting him as much. You know what I'm saying? Chris Rodriguez is a healthy scratch because he's ill. So they brought up Derek Gore, Frank Gore, I think Frank Gore's son. They brought him up. So they probably might use Gibson more into the passing game tomorrow and allow Brian Robinson and Gore be the main runners. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use him. I would love for him to be more involved into the wide receiver spot because that's what he was when he was at Memphis. He was a wide receiver before he converted to a running back. So hopefully Eric Bieniemy don't figure it out, but they need to use every personnel they got. I mean, they got so much talent on there. It's baffling me that you can't. And the only thing I don't like is that don't try to turn us into the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's what I think he want to do. But Sam Howell is not there yet. You need to take your time with him. Give him enough plays where he could execute properly. He has the skill set, but he's not there yet. This is really his first full season, and you don't want to throw so much on him. And these defenses already know that they got film on him already. You know what I'm saying? So they know his tendency, so they gonna come after him. But we have to do our job to protect him and make sure we put him in the best position to succeed, and use the weapons that he has around him.
100%. Definitely understand that. I mean, to your point, Gibson's fumbled 11 times in his career, lost 8 of them, and a lot of those have come at key moments. So definitely not necessarily entirely a surprise to see him playing the second fiddle to Brian Robinson, but yeah. I guess I expected a little bit bigger role for him is all. But as far as my thoughts on this game, I think Philadelphia definitely has some things to clean up that I've spoken about before. This offense has looked rusty at times, and which is odd because at times it's looked amazing. So I'm not quite sure what needs to be fixed. I know I'm not the biggest fan on Brian Johnson's play callings at times. It seems like he gets into I don't want to say a rhythm, but like gets into a set play calling balance where he wants to go a certain amount of runs in a row, then a certain amount of passes in a row, and he kind of telegraphs what he's going to do next. So I think that's been holding us back at times. He's gone really, really run heavy at times, and then he's completely run away from the run at other times. And it's just been kind of interesting to watch all the way around, which again, first time play caller in the NFL. We expected some rough moments right off the bat. Hopefully he cleans it up as we go, but I don't think Washington is a team that you're going to look good against when you're trying to fight against that defense. I mean, they've got an amazing amount of talent, especially on that front four. Honestly, probably one of the best defensive lines in the league, next to maybe San Francisco and Philadelphia and Dallas, really, truly. So there's a lot of talent there, but this game could really go either way. Like you said, last year they were able to defeat us. So I think that this is a game where ultimately Philly is coming into it with that mindset that we could be beat and we need to be on our P's and Q's. So I think we're going to come into this game prepared. I ultimately think they're going to take home the victory and come out of this 4-0. But like you said, I think it's going to be a close game. Probably whoever holds the ball last and scores last is probably going to end up being the winner of this game. And I think somehow, some way, that's going to come down with Philly. Last second touchdown with Jalen Hurts probably being the runner for that matter. Anybody else? Sorry, go ahead.
Also, just a little touch on that for a quick second. We didn't have Chase last year, and Chase is here this year. So that's going to be a little bit extra more motivation, you know what I'm saying, for this Commanders defense.
Absolutely agree. And actually, he's the scariest member of that defense, if you ask me. Chris, any thoughts?
Yeah, so, I love what Martin said, and I agree big time. But my biggest thing is, why are the Commanders not utilizing De'Ami Brown more? I'm a huge De'Ami Brown guy. Him and Sam Howell already have that North Carolina connection, and he's really, really good at one-on-one matchups. He's really, really good. So he had the speed, the size. I don't understand why they're not using him more. Overall, I think this game is going to be really interesting. I have it at 28-14. I think it could get uglier depending on what kind of offense we see. Sam Howell, I feel like, is not confident enough yet, and they need to get him there. They need to kind of speed up that process a little bit, I mean, with all the good quarterbacks coming in next year in the draft, I mean, this is really, really a big game for Sam to prove himself against in my opinion, you could argue, or I think a top 3 defense in the league. For sure.
Big time. Any thoughts?
2 things. I heard what Martin said, but this is a game where you're gonna have to use Antonio because Robinson ain't gonna be able to carry the load by himself this time. It's gonna be a beat up type game. Philly is good against the run. You're gonna have to let Gibson go. Why he's not playing, I believe that may go back to y'all's off-season type thing. There's a lot of guys that went into the doghouse with the enemy, and not saying that he's one of them, but if he's not playing the position that he kind of played, or at least touching the ball a lot, and not that Robinson is just so great, but he is good without a doubt. But I think this game you're gonna need, a double dosage, lightning thunder type thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets, more touches than he did. Second thing is, how many games, Martin, hit me out? Is this the second game that Chase has been back, or is this the third?
Yeah. This is he came back in the Broncos game, so this is third. It would be his third.
Okay, so with these, with this dude ain't played ball in a year. You know what I'm saying? So they're only gonna get better. And the last time I remember when they was all clicking, they can wreck a whole game. That front four by itself can wreck a game. So I think that Philly is gonna have to play the same role, and they got backs. I wouldn't be surprised if y'all see the kid from Seattle this week, Sam Penny, I believe that's him.
Rashard Penny.
He finally gets something in, because Washington, one thing about him, without Chase, at least I'm just going by the Washington Commanders against us. We couldn't do nothing with them. We couldn't run at all. And that's with Pollard and Zeke. We struggled just with Allen and Sweat. We just, and Chase wasn't even there. You bring Chase back there, man, this defense is going to only get better. Period. However, I would not be surprised, Sam, if they flip it on us a little bit, because it's difficult to run. I'm not sure that Washington has enough on the back end that can deal with Devontae and AJ. And I got a feeling that they're going to kind of open it up like that because it's going to be hard to run the ball on both sides of the ball. That's just my thoughts starting off.
No, I think you're on point, and I think to what you said. I think if Cool was here tonight with us, I know he's watching. He would easily be the one talking about the fact that Philly's got vulnerabilities in the middle of our defense. So this could be a game where you see Sam Howell take over, honestly, with a lot of short passing game and short to intermediate passing game to try and take advantage of those holes with the linebacker group that's got a bunch of injuries, as well as our secondary. I mean, if you spread us out right now, we're going to be spread pretty thin because we've lost Devontae Maddox for the year. I've got other injuries there as well, and we're kind of rotating through some guys right now. So if you go 4 wide receiver, you're kind of putting us at a disadvantage at this moment. And then if you go base and you're trying to run, a nickel defense, and we're still at a disadvantage right now with the health of our linebackers. So realistically, this could end up being a shootout in terms of the passing game, and it could be a lot of short to intermediate passing game from both teams, to be quite honest. Go ahead, Martin.
Oh, yeah, and it's funny you said that because Terry hasn't gotten off yet, and he has had good games against Philly. So that's going to be something to watch. And to Chris' point, this could be a game De'Ami Brown be a difference maker in the game. So there's a lot of variables in this game that could happen for both teams. You know what I'm saying? Like Big Tom said, our back end, but we have fared well against A.J. Brown with Benjamin St. Jude's, you know what I'm saying? And, Fuller on one side. But now we got Manuel Forrest back there, Quan Martin, Derek Forrest, Cam Curl. Cam Curl is one of the best safety, young safeties in the game. So it's going to be very interesting. This is going to be a chess match. That's why I said these teams kind of like mirror each other. It's just the Philly has they have the better advantage from quarterback, offensive line, and linebacker standpoint, but everything else kind of fits the mold. So we thinking run. Both of these teams might want to run to grind it out, but this could be like you said, Sam, it could be an aerial assault to see who's going to get on top. So it's going to be interesting. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you pointed that out with Benjamin St. Juste and A.J. Brown, because that is a matchup to watch. If anybody can cover the big body that A.J. Brown is, it's St. Juste, who I think is 6'3", 210 pounds or something like that. So definitely a guy that can match up well with A.J. Our guy Cool says Josh Joby needs to work on his technique. Yes, he does, and he's going to have to do it very quickly because he's going to be used quite frequently in that defense moving forward with the way we have gotten health-wise. But let's go ahead and move on to that Patriots-Cowboys game. Tomorrow, 2:25 kickoff for the Mountain Time. 4:25 Eastern. Big Time, why don't you go ahead and kick us off on this one?
I really only have one question, really, and that is, can we stop the run? It's the question I had during the off season. It's the question I had even after beating up the Giants and beating up the Jets. I still had the same question because the game dictated that, or at least the first two, it dictated that we took out the running game because of the scoreboard. I had the question even with the Cardinals because I haven't seen it yet. I know what we like on the back end, and that was with Diggs still there. And even with him not there, I still think we're more than adequate enough defensively in the secondary to handle business. But I did not have my question answered about can we stop the run. And boy, I definitely still don't have the answer. And so, of course, we're dealing with two guys that I know, especially after last week, that the Patriots are going to have a concerted effort that they're going to run the ball. Stevenson, Ezekiel Elliott, whoever else they got back there. We're going to get a heavy dosage again just to see if we can finally stop it, finally. I don't know if we're gonna do that or not. I just don't know. I got to see it before I give them credit. Our job is try to make Matt Jones throw the ball. If that happens, we got an advantage. The pass rush is still the pass rush, but we got to earn it. We can't let them have 2nd and 2 and 3rd and 1 and all that kind of stuff. We need to put them in 3rd and long, 3rd and 6, so it's obvious. And Matt Jones will give you the ball back. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make him throw the ball. Not scared of anybody really on on their offense other than Stevenson to me. I know Juju is still there. You know, the good solid guys, but I'm not overly scared of them like that. Offensively, you know, it's already been reported that Tyron Smith is out. There's a possibility, at least as of now, they said that Tyler Biotis and Zach Martin are coming back. So we won't have to go through this not having 3 of our linemen in. Tyron won't be there. But look like Zach Martin and Tyler Biotis will play. So of course that's a positive for us. I mean, I don't know. Pollard carried the ball 25 times last week. That's shocking. But he did it last week. However, Deuce Vaughn did not step on the field. Not really. And Turpin did not become part of the running game. That's what we showed the first week. So it's almost you're not utilizing the weapons that you have. Personally, I could care less about Dak Prescott. Getting 2-3 touchdowns. I could care less about that. If your identity is running the football, let's go ahead and do it. So far, that's been the strength of the team. It just depends on how we go. I'm not saying Dak not capable. I've seen it enough. But at some point, we just got to call it like it is and say, hey, let's just be honest and stay and gain an identity. I expect them to load up the box and make Dak throw. It's the same thing. It's almost a mirror image game. They want to make Dak throw. We want to make Matt Jones throw. And which leaves you one-on-one. But if we know all respect goes to Coach Belichick, a defensive guru, probably the greatest coach ever coached in the history of the game, but he's known for his defensive strengths, and his strength is that he want to take away what you do best. So far, the Cowboys, what they do best is run the ball. If that's the case, you're going one-on-one. Dak just got to make them pay if they're going to do that. Because, they have already said they're going to put the rookie on CD Lamb, going to travel with him. Like, that's an embarrassment. Christian, even though the dude playing great, the young kid Christian, I forgot his last name, but he's real good. But that's CD Lamb over there, like, hello. I mean, come on. CD got to go to work, and Dak got to take advantage of that if that's what they're going to do. So we'll just see tomorrow. I ain't making no predictions because I got to make sure I know what teams show up. I'm not confident on what team is going to show up. So we'll see.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting to see exactly how this goes for the Cowboys. I mean, ultimately, like you said, we've seen 2 different versions of them so far this season. And the Patriots are a team that can go either way at any point in time. Chris, I'm sure you've got some thoughts on this. You're a Boston guy. What are your thoughts on this Cowboys-Patriots game?
Yeah, I think we might get killed. There's a legit chance we might get killed. Matt Jones, last game looked not great. The offense was slow. If we start slow against Dallas, we're screwed. Like, we are screwed. And Dallas is a team that can get on top of you fast. Christian Gonzalez is going to be matched up against CD Lamb. I like that matchup, but I don't like it at the same time. I think he can win it for the most part, but I mean, CD's like one of the best receivers in the league. And overall, I mean, the only thing I can count on for this game is the running game. So I'm really hoping that Zeke has a big revenge game against the Cowboys. But I'm going to caution on the side that might not happen. So I currently have the Cowboys winning this game 23-10.
Interesting. Martin, do you have any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, just a few. I think you're gonna see a lot of Hunter Henry for the Patriots. They utilize the tight end very, very well. I think because they want to give Matt Jones a security blanket. So especially if Dallas defensive front is going to spec run, with Zeke and Stevenson. So you want to give Matt Jones some quick throws out of the pocket to loosen up that defense just a little bit, where they could run the ball a little bit effectively. Like Big Time said, Bill Belichick is the X factor of this whole thing. And I think even though Gonzalez is going to be matched up with CD, I think he pretty much probably will have a safety over the top where to get him some kind of help. I don't think he's going to be able to deal with CD one-on-one the whole game. He might have him. There'll probably be some mixed coverage a little bit. They're going to switch up a little bit. I don't think he's going to hold him the whole game and everything. So, but Dallas should win this game. They definitely need to win this game. They can't. Say for instance, if the Commanders beat Philly Sunday, they 3-1, Philly's 3-1. Dallas loses, they'll be a game behind. They don't want to fall behind. They have to beat the Patriots. You know what I'm saying? Because the Patriots, they've been in some games, but they haven't figured anything out to win the games. So you don't want to give them confidence too, and they playing in a tight division as well. So Dallas have to take every advantage and knock out the Patriots quick, fast, in a hurry. Because you already seen what the Patriots have done when they played Philly. You know what I'm saying? They are pretty much one of them teams that could hang around and gain confidence, and then all of a sudden you lose the game.
Absolutely they can. It's going to be, like I said, an interesting game to watch. Definitely one of those games where you're looking at two fairly evenly talented teams. The Patriots are still a good team, although Mac Jones hasn't been necessarily playing as well as we know he can. Chris, are you still with us? We will be moving on to the Seahawks Giants game, and you're our guy on the night for the Giants. What are your thoughts for the Seahawks Giants game?
Yeah, Giants, I looked at the injury report today. Not looking good. Not looking good at all. I think DK Metcalf is going to have over 100 yards receiving. I think he's going to have a game against the Giants. I have no faith in the Giants whatsoever. This team is the Seattle hasn't had their breakout game yet, and this is the perfect opportunity for them to get that breakout game. Geno Smith this year, overall, I have not. I'm checking his stats right now. So he's thrown 4 touchdowns and 1 interception, and 98 quarterback rating. I mean, that's not bad, but I feel like I watched all of Seattle's games this year. That those stats look a lot better than what I was expecting, honestly. I mean, he hasn't looked up to the level he looked last year, so I definitely think this is his breakout game. I got the score right now. I have 35-21. I think Daniel Jones will throw for 180 yards and 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
Alrighty, interesting. Any thoughts on this game, Martin?
I guess you're gonna see a whole lot of Kenneth Walker in this game. Giants don't have Barkley. They give up a lot. They give up a lot of points. They haven't been. I don't even know what's wrong with their defense right now. Out of the Commanders, Eagles, and Cowboys, they're supposed to have one of a good defensive front, but they haven't really been trying to stop anybody this year. They've been giving up a lot of points. It's going to be a lot on Daniel Jones' shoulder and you've seen how that went last week. So Geno has been playing really well. He picking up where he left off. DK, I think DK is out. He definitely needs a breakout game. He hasn't had one yet. I mean, it's been Tyler Lockett and getting all the. So, but I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Kenneth Walker in this game. So, I mean, can the Giants hang in there? I don't know. I mean, they pull a comeback against the Cardinals. So, but I think that's what Barkley. I don't think they have enough weaponry to do it.
That's fair. Big Time, do you have any thoughts on this game?
I just think sooner or later that front four gonna show up. I don't know if that's tomorrow, but they're just too talented. I ain't gonna say they're too good because it really haven't been seen yet. Thibodeau is too good of a player. Lawrence is too good of a player, and Isaiah Simmons is too good of a player. Sooner or later, it's gonna click. And look out when it does. Offensively, they're challenged without Saquon. Another huge disappointment. It looks like he fading out as he usually does. Is Darren Waller. I mean, they invested a lot. They thought this dude was gonna come in and usually, at least his Raider days, it just seemed like he quit on you. And I'm not saying that's the case. The line is not that great and all that kind of stuff, but Darren Waller got to be the man. It's not on Jalen Hyatt. It's not on that. Waller has to be the man. And I thought that connection was just going to be lighting people up regardless, because it's just too strong. Because not too many people can handle Waller at all. And he has not. It hadn't showed up. It hadn't showed up in the first game. Not really. Second game, here we are. But you just feel like sooner or later the Giants gonna wake up and show a little bit, and may not equal wins until Saquon get back, but at least you would think that they would be able to step it up a little bit. And I'm not saying it's tomorrow because Seattle is a solid football team, but sooner or later that front four is going to play better. And I think that can happen tomorrow. Maybe not enough to win, but they're going to step up sooner or later.
I'm kind of thinking this might be the game where we see Darren Waller have a solid performance. If you look at the injury report for this week, you've got a lot of injuries on the defensive side for specifically in the secondary for Seattle. You got Trey Brown that's out. Kobe Bryant's doubtful. Quandre Diggs was limited earlier this week. Julian Love, same thing, limited earlier this week. Jamal Adams coming back from an injury. Rick Woolen coming back from an injury. And then they're also going to be without Artie Burns. So, I mean, there's a lot of attrition there in terms of injuries. So I think Darren Waller might be the one guy to look to, because otherwise the Giants don't really have a whole lot in that passing attack. So that's going to be another injury or another interesting game to watch this upcoming week. I'm not really sure how it's going to fall in terms of the Giants or the Seahawks. Those are two teams that you could get one team, you could get another team every week. And I think this is going to be another game where it might start off very close and end up very lopsided.
Yeah.
So real quick, before we get out of here, we were going to look into some of these statistics. And I was slightly surprised to ultimately look at this and see where everybody stood in terms of scoring offense, scoring defense, stuff like that for our division. And after 3 weeks, right now, the Dallas Cowboys are actually the highest scoring offense in the NFC East with 86 points. They're tied for 7th in the league with the Los Angeles Chargers. Basically, right now, as we all know, Miami's pacing the league with 130 points, 70 of which came this past weekend. So they kind of left way up there. Detroit, 106 points. Green Bay, 100 points. Buffalo, 91. San Francisco, 90. Seattle, shockingly, 87 points. And then, like I said, Dallas in 7th. Right behind them is Philadelphia in 9th with 84 points. You go down a little bit further. Washington has scored 58 points, and they're in 19th place. And then the Giants currently are all the way down in 31st place with the 43 points scored so far through 3 games. And looking at the scoring defenses, there's quite a bit of drop off as well. But anybody got any thoughts on where these teams lie offensively so far?
I kind of figured Washington probably would have dropped because within 2 games they scored 55 points, and if they had put up probably about 20, at least 25 points or so in that Buffalo game, they probably would have still been up there a little higher. So it's not surprising to see them drop. Now that could change again this week. Who knows? But I think I think after playing Buffalo and then you got to play your division rivals, kind of tough because you got two back-to-back tough games. But after that, you got Chicago and you got Atlanta next. So they statistically, offensively, they'll probably move back up a little bit more.
That's definitely fair. Krish, big time, any thoughts on these?
I'll just say real simple. As much as everybody has pointed out the red zone issue for the Cowboys, good Lord, if they that far, my God, we could probably be up there over 100 points with Miami. I mean, last week, for instance, 5 red zone trips, 1 touchdown. That's ridiculous. The game before that, I think we got into the red zone, I think 4 times. I think we scored twice, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. So
that sounds correct.
Yeah, so I mean, we can figure out a way to put it in the end zone. I ain't gonna say we Miami, but it wouldn't be too far off. I put it that way. So we got to score.
Exactly. And then flipping the ball and looking at the defensive side, actually, Dallas is in first place yet again with only 38 points allowed through 3 games. Impressive performance so far, keeping points off the board. Philadelphia is quite a bit behind them with 59 points allowed. They're 11th overall in scoring defense. And then you see Washington down here with 86 points allowed. And the worst defense currently in our division is the New York Giants with 98 points allowed. They're in 30th spot, right above the Chicago Bears, who have allowed 106 points, and the Denver Broncos, who have allowed 122 points. Any thoughts on any of these rankings other than the fact that, wow, Denver looks terrible?
Yeah, Denver got everybody beat pretty bad. I think, like I said, for Washington offense could have been a little bit higher. They gave up, they didn't score no points against Buffalo. They gave up a lot of points against Buffalo. They gave up a lot of points against Denver. You know what I'm saying? So scoring defense has to be better. Last year their scoring defense was really good because they was only allowing between 16 and 18 points a game. So they got to get back into that formula of, and I think it starts with the defensive front, and the secondary has to play more sound defense, not just, running around. They got to play as a unit, and all of that all of that scoring drop down. So it's still early, but everything can be fixed. It can be corrected. So
I'm not surprised that the Cowboys are there. It was predicted that they would be. And I think that tomorrow, I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game at all. I think they have a chance to add to that and make it even better. But after this week, here we go. 49ers coming up. Still got to play the Eagles twice. Still got to play Washington. We still got to play Miami. So that's later, much later, I'm saying. So we'll see where we are. And of course, can we avoid any more injuries? We can't afford too many more injuries at all. We got safeties playing linebacker. I know it's packages, but even the base package, we just lost the linebacker. We had to call up one. We lost Devin Harper through waivers. just called up Malik Jefferson from the practice squad. And he's the linebacker for both right linebacker, Mike, and the Will linebacker. So, I mean, after that, you got safeties on the depth chart right after that. Leighton Vander Esch does not have a guy that's on the depth chart right behind him. So I'm going to be watching that because I got a feeling that Micah Parsons is going to have to switch back to linebacker. And if you want to, he's been I think he won the NFC, the NFL defensive, or excuse me, the NFC player of the month defensively. Well, he's an impactful guy wherever he plays, but when you take him off that line and put him back at linebacker, he becomes a little less effective. And we may not have a choice but to put him back there because, as I said before, it's not good to have safeties as your linebackers, especially when they go heavy set. They're going to get swallowed up. So I'm just paying attention. Hopefully we can't have too many more injuries because as much as everybody like to say the next man up, well, your next man up may be coming from the practice squad. It's a big difference between your first string guy and then you
lying
call
about that
from the practice squad. It ain't the same. And we can call that next man up stuff all we want to. You can't run the race without the horses. So we almost at that point now. So I'm paying attention. Hopefully guys can stay healthy.
It's kind of crazy to see them doing so well with that kind of injuries across the defense. Moving on to the special teams. Once again, we find Dallas atop the division with a 76.6 grade. This is via PFF.com, Pro Football Focus, just so in case anybody's wondering. Philadelphia, 12th overall with a 71.6 grade. And then we go down to the New York Giants, which are 30th with a 54.1 grade, and ultimately the Commanders are the last ranked team with a 48.5 grade. I was actually kind of surprised to see Washington ranked so far down there. Martin, can you elaborate on that as to why?
I'm kind of surprised, but I mean they invested so much into special teams. Personally, I like Casimir Allen. I wanted him to be that special teams guy, but after Max Milan went down, they went and signed Pierre Garçon. Now, he served his purpose not Pierre Garçon, but Jamison Crowder. My bad. They kind of like the same guys a little bit. Jamison Crowder, I mean, he'd been there before, but he just not as explosive. He's older, you know what I'm saying? And you want somebody that's going to enhance your special teams. It works both ways. You can't give up special team yardage, and you got to get special teams when you get a team 3 and out. And we just when teams punt, we don't get great yardage from it at all. I mean, I would love to see somebody get back there and get 20-something yards. So our special teams has not been really good this year, except for Tressway. Kicking hasn't been good because our long snapper Cheeseman, he must be think he playing in Green Bay with the Cheeseheads because he can't long snap for nothing. He done changed his form. He messed us up, cost us some points in the kicking game this year. So, yeah, I'm not surprised our special teams has been, abysmal.
Fair enough. Big time, what are your thoughts on the fact that the Cowboys land top in the division across the board?
Well, it's kind of disguised. Number one, we haven't had a kickoff return at all. The field goal, our kicker kicks it through, so there's no return on that. My mind is off, but I don't even think it's been too many punt returns. I think most of them have been, I believe most of them, hey, Terry, I see you. I think most of those have been fair catches. I really believe that. And the way the offense have been moving the ball, they really haven't punt it too much, to be honest with you. As far as return goes, Turpin has not got his hand on the ball yet. I think one of the things that I don't know what pro football, what the metrics are as far as them grading, but it does help that we had against the Giants the block field goal and recovery and then ran it in for a touchdown. I'm quite sure that had to help in some area, but we really haven't had any real action, to be honest with you, which could be the reason why we are number one. There has not been a kick return all year. He has that many touchbacks. And as far as field goal, I believe that my kicker has already made the Pro Bowl already because we've been kicking field goals. We ain't scoring touchdowns in red zone, so he's lighting it up. From everywhere. I'm saying I believe he's already the Pro Bowl kicker this year so far. Got to be. He may be right up there with Tua in scoring. I mean, he's scoring a lot of points this year so far. So if those two things probably are helping us out. So that's probably the reason why.
That's definitely a fair assessment. Brandon Aubrey's performance has been pretty impressive. For anybody who didn't know, this guy was playing Major League Soccer just a couple years back. He's made 10 of 10 field goals, 6 of 7 extra points, and 20 touchbacks on kickoffs. So, yeah, you're definitely not lying. There's been one return, and it was for 28 yards. So, yeah, that's definitely affecting the scoring for sure there. But, yeah, ultimately, they've got a solid special teams unit regardless. So I think even if they had had a little bit more opportunities here, we'd probably still see a pretty high score. Turpin's an unbelievable returner. Brandon Aubrey, like I just spoke about, been a pretty solid kicker. Their punter also very solid so far this season. So ultimately not entirely surprising. And then also not entirely surprising to see Philly lower in the 12 range. I'm not a fan of the punter situation we've had going on. I've said it multiple times. I'm going to say it again. We should have kept Cameron Dicker. I know that he was playing kicker for us when Jake Elliott was hurt, but he can punt as well. He did it his senior year in college. He was a very solid punter in college for that. So we should have definitely kept him around, especially because of his value as a kicker as well. Ultimately, he's in LA with the Chargers. So we've got Braden Mann there. He's been doing good so far in the 1 week that he's played, but we'll see how things go. Chris, any thoughts on where the Giants lie?
Yeah, not good at all. Giants are, in my opinion, they may get a top 7 pick. I'm very, very disappointed with Brian Dable this year, and it furthers my point that just because the coach has success after 1 year doesn't mean anything. You have to have long, sustained success. And one example that I use of that is former Atlanta Falcons head coach Jim Mora. Jim Mora came over and coached UConn football. The first year they went 8-4, now they're 0-5 this year. So it doesn't really matter after 1 year. I think people got a little too overhyped about the Giants. They need to fix that defense ASAP if they have any chance. And my biggest thing is, where had Tavon Thibodeau been? I have not seen Tavon Thibodeau at all this year make an impact. He made an impact, but not a first-round impact. So I'm looking to see more out of him.
That's definitely fair as well. Any final thoughts before we go ahead and get out of here tonight? And if after your final thoughts, go ahead and shout out your channels, where we can find you, what you got coming up next. Let's go to Big Time first.
Hey, no final thoughts. Cowboys get their act together. That's one thing. Not I'm gonna be talking about them bad. I'll be on tomorrow morning, but tomorrow prior to game time. Simply go to the Big Time Show for those that do not know me. Big Time Show on Facebook or YouTube. I'll tell you everywhere else once you come, but those are 2 ways you can definitely catch me. I'll be live tomorrow at some point before the game starts. But good hanging with you guys on the night. We'll do it again.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Martin, where can we find you, and what do you got coming up next?
You can find me on YouTube, Livewire Sports Media. You can always find me participating on the NFC Beast on Saturday nights. Also, college football's showdown on Saturday morning with Chris and Coach Dante. Plus, you can find me on both of my shows, The Commanders, The Aftermath on Mondays, and Miami Hurricanes Kings on the Daily on Tuesdays. And then I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Very nice. Any final thoughts for the night?
Yeah, Duke is beating Notre Dame right now.
Wow. Interesting.
I have a
Would
lot of
not have
money in
guessed
that
that.
game, so a lot of money. So I can't afford to lose. So.
All right. Well, Krish, you're up, man. Where can we find you? What are you doing next? And then also, what are your final thoughts for the evening?
Yeah, you can find me on obviously the Shady Sports YouTube. I should have a couple interviews coming up maybe in the next couple of days, trying to work out with some players or whatever. But my betting article, betting posts, and then my final thoughts would be the NFC East is in an interesting spot as a whole. So this week is going to tell us a lot that we need to know for the season. So I'm really excited for this week. Every week of the NFL continues to get better, so I can't wait to watch football tomorrow.
I 100% agree. I can't wait to see these games. I definitely think this is going to be a very division-defining week for sure. There's some games in here that will tell us a lot. That Washington-Philadelphia game is going to be a big one. Same thing with that Cowboys game. The Giants have a chance to redeem themselves this week. Can they do it? So there's a lot of storylines coming into this week. You can find me on Shady Sports Network tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. We will be speaking with the San Antonio Gunslingers coaching staff from the Indoor Football League. So if you like alternative football, come check us out. We have literally the entire coaching staff joining us, so it should be a good one. But anyway, thank you all for joining us as far as content creators and the people watching. If you catch the replay, make sure you hit that like button, comment, and also, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to all these channels: Play Caller Sports, Eagles Elite Podcast, Big Time on Facebook and YouTube, Livewire Sports on YouTube and Facebook, Twitter as well, and then also BS3 Network and Shady Sports Network. We're going out a lot of places. Make sure you spread the love. Other than that, have a great weekend, and let's go NFC East.
All right.